What's going on, everybody? Thank you guys so much for watching the show. Wanted to talk to you about our friends over at Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching sports. This app is really easy to use. You just pick more or less on a few player stats, and you could win up to 1,000 times your cash on a single lineup. Best of all, Prize Picks will give you $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. Win or lose, you'll get $50 for playing. Use the promo code PFF and download the app now. It sort of depends on how you view the slide of Will Johnson, right? Because in the first round, they took Walter Nolan, who was very high on my big board. I had him top 10 overall. They get him at number 17. Really good value there for the Arizona Cardinals. Then they get Will Johnson in the second round at pick number 47. He is I can't remember if it was top 15 or just top 20 to be safe player on my big board. You're getting him at 47. It's massive value, but there's a reason why he slid, right? Teams clearly were not comfortable with Will Johnson's knee and sort of the long-term look at how he was going to heal up from that and whether it was going to be a future issue for him. And there were already concerns about his long speed before you're having to take a lower body injury into account. But they draft him in the second round. Jordan Birch, the versatile defensive lineman from Oregon, in the third round. Cody Simon in the fourth. Denzel Burke in the fifth. Hayden Connor in the sixth. And then Keaton Crawford in the seventh. Our staff gave this draft an A+ because where they drafted Walter Nolan and Will Johnson versus where they were on the PFF big board signal basically like this draft's just an A right off the bat. And then you add in some other picks that we liked for them and getting a heavy linebacker in Simon and getting some cornerback depth in Burke. And Jordan Birch obviously is a versatile defensive lineman for them there as well to play multiple spots too, just getting a lot better up front. But Dalton, I'm very curious. What did you think of this one? Again, our staff gave this an A+. How do you view the Will Johnson selection? Are you all in on like, yeah, what a steal. They absolutely got a steal here. Or are you wary of the reason why he fell to number 47?
No, I think once he gets down in that range, especially they didn't even have to trade up for him from number 47. If you're 70 to 75% sure his knee is good, you do this. Trev, I believe he was the 14th ranked player on your big board. So you got two top 15 players at 16 and 47. Walter Nolan could change the complexion of their defensive line, along with the entire the plethora of defensive linemen they brought in this offseason. Calais Campbell, Josh Sweat, Dalvin Tomlinson, Walter Nolan, obviously. Jordan Birch is another guy just functional from any spot on the D-line. I think this draft really, along with the value they got in their first two picks, and again, Will Johnson's a steal at 47. I don't care. At this point, if they're 70, 75% sure, absolute steal in the second round. This draft is about Jonathan Gannon saying, okay, no more. We're not a doormat anymore on defense. We're done with this. We started to get a little bit better last year. We saw some development, safety, Garrett Williams, a little bit of D-line. Baron Browning they kept too, who he came on after they traded for him. This is about Jonathan Gannon finally making a statement with this team. And I like every fit that they got here. I mean, Nolan could be great and doesn't have to carry the load right away. Johnson, again, the steal of the draft in the second round. Jordan Birch is solid. I was looking at this linebacker room because I was going through the list in the entire draft of who could start as rookies. I think a quiet one actually is Cody Simon. Right now, when you look at the Cardinals starting linebackers, you look at their depth chart, it's Mack Wilson and Akeem Davis-Gaither. Explain to me why Cody Simon couldn't fight for a starting job, even as a fourth rounder, right? I know in coverage he needs some work, but Davis-Gaither's a career backup, and Mack Wilson's kind of floated around the league. I could see it. I think Denzel Burke, honestly, is he my favorite player in the draft in the country? No. Is he struggling man-to-man? Yeah, but they don't play any man-to-man coverage in this defense. That right off zone, that's somewhere he can sit back. Denzel Burke could actually, for this exact team, be a really good value in the fifth round. And then you mentioned Keaton Crawford, just a really good athlete who, again, a similar zone quarters kind of system they ran down there at Nevada. He's transferred from Texas, went to Nevada, had a really good year. That seemed to be where he was most comfortable. So again, just like I talked about earlier with Kansas City, you got really good value at the top. Actually, was it Kansas City? No, it was Seattle I was talking about with this. You got really good value and guys you really wanted at the top in Nolan and Johnson. Two guys they probably thought about at number 16. And then you just got great system fits later in the draft. Guys like Burke and Cody Simon and Keaton Crawford even in the 7th. Arizona did a fantastic job. I know it's obviously almost the entire draft is defense, and it is what it is. Their offensive line, they're just going to have to go another year with a decent offensive line with a possible star in Paris Johnson at left tackle. But for what they did on defense and the statement Jonathan Gannon's trying to make, boy, they're going to be a problem. They have a lot of talent on this defense now, and they've plugged some of the holes, maybe except at linebacker. We'll see how Simon works out, but they have plugged a lot of holes on this defense. And this, I'll tell you what, you look at the depth chart of this defensive line, good luck. Good luck blocking all the guys that they have right now, especially in the run game. They're going to have a lot of fun on defense in Arizona.
Yeah, I give them a B plus on NFL Stock Exchange when I was going over the initial grades, and honestly, I think B plus is probably as low as you can go. And the only reason why I really gave them a B plus is because yes, I sort of give them credit for the Will Johnson pick, but also I understand the reason why he fell. And so again, if Will Johnson pans out for you, he's a steal. It doesn't really matter what our initial draft grades are. He's going to be a stud. I love the Walter Nolan selection as well. The real reason why I bring this down from the A ranks is because I felt as though Jordan Burch was a little redundant for them on what they've already have on the defensive line, the additions that they've already made in free agency, as well as drafting Walter Nolan in the first round. I would have rather them drafted a Jared Wilson, a Wyatt Milam, shoot, even later, Marcus Bowe was still on the board, guys like that. And I would have rather drafted one of those players in the third round that were still available when they took Burch. To me, that felt like a luxury selection when, in my opinion, you have short and long-term needs on your offensive line that did not go addressed. But it just was very clear the NFL did not think as highly of this offensive line group as maybe some of the rest of us did. But those guys specifically, like with Milam still on the board, with Jared Wilson still on the board, I think those are good offensive linemen that could have really helped this team. And so I would have rather them at least right there. I don't mind them going defensive line in the first round. Heck, I don't even mind them being the team to take the chance on Will Johnson. I think it could be a massive payout for them. But in that third round, I would have recalibrated a little bit, and I would have changed that focus towards offensive line. But very clearly, they're buying into Jordan Burch, who was a top 5 recruit in the country when he was coming out of high school, the number 1 recruit in the country, one of them. I mean, he was just super highly regarded when he first went to South Carolina. It took him a little bit of time to figure it out. This past year at Oregon was his most productive year. I still worry a little bit about, okay, where's the home base for him? But Jonathan Gannon is very multiple up front, so at least I think that he goes to a good home in Arizona. So again, I gave it a B plus. I think that's pretty much the worst grade that you could give them, because I could totally understand if you're really buying into it for the reasons that you mentioned, and if you're really buying into the Will Johnson slide and them getting steal there, this could be an A and A plus draft. So anywhere within that range, I ended up going with a B plus because I wish they would have gone offensive line a little bit earlier, but I can totally understand people are higher on them as well.
We'll see if it ends up one of the best, but I just thought it. The number of names on this D-line: Calais Campbell, Dalvin Tomlinson, Darius Robinson, Baron Browning, Josh Sweat, B.J. Ojulari, Zaven Collins, Justin Jones, Bilal Nichols, Walter Nolan, Dante Stills, Jordan Burch. I think I just list off 12 guys? I think it was 12 guys I just listed.
Close.
I'm pretty sure teams on game days only keep 9 or 10, so somebody's going to get cut from an insanely deep group. But this, I don't know if it's the best D-line in the league. It certainly doesn't have that big mega star like Watt or Parsons or something like that, but it might be the deepest. They have just gone all in on this defensive line. I don't blame them one bit. Jonathan Gannon's sick of getting bullied on defense.
That's why you wore red today, right? We knew we were ending with the Cardinals. You had good things to say about the Arizona Cardinals. I see what you're doing. You're planning the outfits with the show.